how much each and every one of us are worth. And it's a very simple concept. This is a simple sermon. Very simple that it could be distilled down to one verse, and I'm sure you know that verse. But sometimes I think if we look at the simple things and we look at how much society values a human being and how much economically we value a human being, and we compare the way we value each other and we value other human beings around us to the way God values us, I think that even though this is a simple topic, we can still reach deeper levels of understanding. Now, how many people here are Bitcoin aficionados, professionals? I didn't think there would be very many. You may not even know what Bitcoin is, but you know what? It has been in the news in the last couple weeks, actually. I'll pull up an article right now here on my iPad. It says Tesla buys $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. And they're now going to have you can buy their car. You can buy yourself a Tesla in Bitcoin. So a lot of people are saying, oh, this is legitimizing Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency, which has there's no paper Bitcoin. Well, there are coins here on this slide. It does not really exist. It's all on the web. It's all being mined on the web. Nothing tangible. It's just mined on the web. How much are you worth in Bitcoin? And I'll tell you how much Bitcoin is worth compared to the US dollar, and it might be pretty surprising to you. But before we go into that, since we're talking about how much a human being is worth, there was a famous man once, a scientist, you may have heard him. His name was Carl Sagan. And he said, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies, all these, it says, were made in the interior of collapsing stars. And Carl then said, we are made of star stuff. Now, in the modern times, they're saying, no, we're not made of star stuff, we are made of star dust. And one man, you may know him, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he is kind of the new Carl Sagan, who goes into all of these theories about the cosmos. There's great shows you can watch entitled Cosmos, where he goes through the planets and the stars and all these things. And what's amazing about him is he's an atheist. He looks into the very creation of God, but he's an atheist. And there's a lot of atheistic comments he could talk about. This one is not quite so much, but he goes into Carl Sagan's quote, and he says, it is not simply, as Carl Sagan said, we are star stuff, but there's a more poetic, and I think a more accurate way to say it. It is quite literally true that we are star dust, to the highest exalted way one can use that phrase. Does not feel good. We are of the dust of the universe. Stars implode, explode, dust blows all throughout the universe, and eventually it all, carbon, nitrogen, it all, billions of years go by and it lands on the planet, and then there's evolution, and this is the way the world thinks. Why, we could even say it's biblical. Genesis 3:19, right? We came from the dust. God made us, and we return to dust. Brothers and sisters, are we really just the value of dust? Or is there something more to us? And that's what we're going to look in today. What is the value of a human being? Simple topic, but I think we can get a little bit of a deeper understanding and appreciation for the value of each and every one of the souls here today. So I did a little research. How much is a human being worth? And one place, Data Genetics, they figure that if there was something called a SPAM, a superb person atomizing machine that took a standard human being and broke that human being down into their elements, you could say the stuff of the stars, the value of a human being would only be about $160. In the oxygen, the carbon, the hydrogen, the nitrogen, that's it. $160, that's all we are worth when it's all said and done. So that's one view. Well, maybe what if I didn't break myself down, but I sold parts of myself? So another group here looked at the black market, the human black market, and what happens. It doesn't happen so much here in the United States, but in other countries around the world, they actually sell human body parts. Theoretically, if you compartmentalized your whole body out and you sold it on the black market piece by piece, you could fetch around $45 million. That's a lot better, right? That's a lot better. And then it gets even better. By Sister Tanya moving from Ukraine to the United States, she gained in value. Because you look here, an American's kidney, they are worth $262, almost $263,000, but a person from China, if they had the same pair of kidneys, that's only $62,000. And on the black market, an Indian, unfortunately, they're making the least, $15,000 for a kidney. So theoretically, you could say that the kidneys of an Indian are worth 1/10 of the kidneys of an American, and it's very twisted to think about that. You just move up in value by where you live. Is that really what this is? Is that really our worth? Where we are born and our citizenship? And, you know, this is a sad reality because this is all over the world. Here on the left-hand side of this slide, you see Pakistani men, and every one of these men have the signature kidney harvest incision. Some of them are newer, they still have bandages, some of them are older. But if an Indian's getting maybe paid $15,000, a Pakistani is probably near around that for a kidney. People are driven because of poverty to sell the parts they have to feed their family. It's a real trade, it really happens. And it's sobering. It's sobering that that's where we are sometimes in some of the poverty-stricken parts in this world. You know what? You're driven to that point that, you know what? If I can just get $15,000, my family can live for a long, long time. There's a lot of corn and wheat I can buy with that. And here are hardworking men. They're giving up organs for the black market trade. So worst case scenario, we're worth close to $150. Best case scenario, if you compartmentalize yourself out and sell yourself illegally, you're worth for quite a bit more. But then how would you like to be paid? See, because you can get paid in all kinds of currency. Here's an example, $160. You can get paid in pesos. So they're our neighbor to the south. That's a lot, that's a big number, right? 160 compared to 3,215. It seems like a bigger number, but the cost, the value is the same. So 3,215 pesos is about $160. Or maybe a euro dollar. See, it's a lower number. The euro dollar is worth more than the American dollar. It's only $132, but there's more value to that euro dollar than the American dollar. What if you want to get paid for your basic elements in silver, the silver troy ounce? Well, that's about 5, almost 6 ounces, troy ounces of silver you can get paid in. Or how about this, Bitcoin, which we're going to learn a little bit more about. $160 is only worth 0.0041 Bitcoin. You won't get anything tangible in your hand, but you'll get yourself a little Bitcoin in your electronic wallet. So it depends on how you want to be paid as well. You can get big numbers, little numbers, but you know what? There's different numbers for a single value, right? Different currencies for a value. So the question is, what makes one currency more valuable than another currency? And how come Bitcoin is so much more valuable than, let's say, the US dollar? Now, when you look at the economic markets today, and you're always talking about a strong dollar, weak dollar, gold's going up, silver's going down, oil's going up, these are all a bunch of commodities. And then you have people talking about cryptocurrency, which is this imagined currency made up on the web. And people say, oh, Bitcoin, that's fake. You have nothing tangible. The dollar, it's so much more. But when you really look at the dollar, when you look at the system on how our economics are founded, how much does it cost to make a dollar? It's only 5 cents to make $1. How much does it cost to make $20 or $50? That's 10 cents. That's what it costs to make it. It's just paper. How much does it cost to make $100 bills? Only 12.3 cents for an $100 bill. What is this telling you about our currencies? Are you pleased by this? There used to be a time when the US dollar was tied to gold. It was backed by gold. But you know what? Now it's totally dissociated from it, and they're just printing money left and right. And now with the war on cash, you look and you say, you know what? I don't even need dollars. I can have my electronic money. I can I have my credit card. I swipe it. Money goes from here to there, there to here. Then Bitcoin starts to sound a little bit more reasonable. Because what do you really have with these currencies? There's just manipulation. Is it really what we think it is? So this slide is already old. The price of Bitcoin since 2017. Now Bitcoin was invented in the year 2007 by a very famous developer, Satoshi Nakamoto. And he invented it, and no one even knows who this person is, but he invented it. They can't even locate him. And the first real world transaction of this electronic form of currency, this World Wide Web form of currency, was in 2010. So invented in 2007, and in 2010, somebody spent 10 Bitcoin to pay for a pizza in New York. Those 10 Bitcoin were worth, at that time, in 2010, about $25 US for 10 Bitcoin. As of this morning, 1 Bitcoin is worth about $46,000. That's 1 Bitcoin. So if you have 1 Bitcoin, if that pizza owner kept those 10 Bitcoin, imagine how wealthy he would be. He sold it for $25, 10 Bitcoin, and now each of his 10 Bitcoin are worth $46,000. Insanely rich. He's rich. How can something like this happen? How can currencies go up and down? How can you invent a currency and suddenly have something that you can't even hold in your hand be worth more than the US dollar? And that leads into the question, what really is our money? What really is it? So society, governments, they use things called money to equal value. And you pay for certain values with a certain agreed amount of money. Even though, if it's a fiat money, it has no real intrinsic value. Or it could be a commodity money, like gold or silver coins, that has some intrinsic value, but this is an agreed upon societal norm of, you know what, when I want to buy this Tesla, it's going to cost me this many dollars. So as society, we put a value on money, and with time, as you have economic hardship, you have places like the Federal Reserve here in the United States, they create inflation because they see that, you know what, times are bad, the economy's rough, we're going to give stimulus money, we're just going to print money, print it out, 5 cents a piece, print it out, give it to the people, and then your dollar values change with time. It changes with time. Inflation happens. If you ask my dad how much it was when you would buy a house back 30, 40 years ago, what, $15,000, $20,000? Today, to buy that same house purely by inflation alone, it's maybe $400,000 to $500,000 here in Englewood. It's been inflation. The value has changed over time. So since we talked about ways we pay for things, let's go back to the value of the human. So the human value, you could say, is based off of the cost in currency. And we've looked at different currencies. But we're going to look here a little bit at the currency of heaven. So we know that in Genesis 1:27 it says that God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. So initially, from the very beginning, there was a value that was created. Here's the coin of Caesar. It was their dollar bill of the time, you could consider, their currency. And on that currency, of the Roman currency, it was made out of silver, so there was some intrinsic value there. But there was the image of the emperor that legitimized it as this is the form of trading and payment that we have in the Roman Empire. So it was with God. He created us, his coin, with his image imprinted on it. But then what happened? We fell. We've all talked about the image of God in the past. If you're interested, you can look that up online. We have sermons on that in the past. We fell, and what has become of our value since that time? It's been devalued. It's been devalued. Has it been devalued back to our basic elements, brothers and sisters, of $160? Or is there something still within us? Christ Object Lessons, page 194. Ellen White says, "The coin, though lying among the dust and rubbish, is a piece of silver still. Its owner seeks it because of its value. So every soul, however degraded by sin, is in God's sight accounted precious. As the coin bears the image and the superscription of the reigning power, so man is at his creation, bore the image of the superscription of God. And though now marred and dim through the influence of sin, the traces of this inscription remain on every soul." So there's still something there. He made us, we've been defaced, but you know that really old coin you find in the sewer somewhere, it's been run over multiple times down there in downtown Denver. You pick it up, you can still kind of see, Abraham Lincoln on that penny. There's still something there. It may be damaged, it may be marred, but there's still something there of value. God desires to recover that soul and to retrace upon it, on that coin, his own image in righteousness and holiness. So each and every one of us, we still have something in us. No matter how dirty, how sullied we may be, there is still something in our character, something on our coin that bears the marks of its creator. And if our value had really gone to nothing, would God continue to create his image? He continues to create his image each and every day. In this own church, right now, there is the image being created. It says here, Psalms 139, verse 13, "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb." So here's a picture of my baby being knitted together in its mother's womb. So there is still the creation. There is still creation. Even though we are broken, we are fallen, God is creating the image of God. And this is a 3D image with an ultrasound at 8 weeks. At this time, there's already a heartbeat. At 6 weeks, you can see the heart on the ultrasound. You can see the blood going through the heart chambers. This is the image of God being created, still now in a fallen world. We have two images getting made in this church, and maybe more. I don't know. I have no idea. God only reveals it when the time comes. So he continues to create. He continues to create, even though we are in a fallen world. It says in Psalms 139:14, "I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well." Isaiah 13:12, God promises that even though there may have been a fall, even though there may have been a decline in value, he will make a mortal more rare than gold and a man more golden than a wedge of Ophir. So he made us. He wants to remake us. Now, how do we know how valuable something is? How do you really know? How do you really know how valuable the Tesla is versus a Maserati versus I don't know. One way I think we know is we look at the price tag. It's like, oh yeah, that's value. So you look at the currency. What was the currency of heaven in his recreation, in his plan for recreation with us? And the whole sermon comes down to this verse, really. You could leave it at this verse alone. "For God so loved the world that he gave" what? "His only begotten Son, that whoever believes on him should not perish but have everlasting life." So there is a currency paid for humanity. And we know that Ellen White speaks that this currency would be paid if there was only one human left on this earth. And the currency, I say what you're worth in Bitcoin, but really the currency is the life of Christ. The life of Christ, when you look at a car, I look at my car and I went to buy it. I want to see how much is that car worth? How much is the human worth? You look at the currency, the life of Christ. That is the value placed upon it. Shall not we, partakers of this great salvation, value the souls for whom he gave his life? Let us labor with a perseverance and energy proportionate to the value Christ places upon his blood-bought heritage. Human souls have cost too much to be trifled with, or treated with harshness or indifference. So this is actually pointing into how do we treat each other. If Christ died for me, or Christ died for you, it was an infinite price he paid for Sister Maria. An infinite price. How should I treat Sister Maria? How should she treat me? How should we treat the brothers and sisters? How should we treat those people outside of the church? All of this value we have as a human society is measured by the currency of Christ. I really like 1 Peter 1:18 and 19. You were ransomed from all the futile ways inherited from your forefathers, not with perishable things like things that we value today, silver or gold, but with what? The precious blood of Christ, like that of a lamb without spot or blemish or spot. Acts of the Apostles, page 273. Here must begin that study which shall be the science and the song of the redeemed through all eternity. In the light of the cross alone can the true value of the whole human soul be estimated. So it's only through the cross. How do I estimate the value of my car when I'm going to pay for it? It's the currency I'm going to pay. How do we value the human soul? By the currency, the price paid for that human soul. We're going to study this all of eternity. All of our time in heaven, the story of redemption, the mystery of iniquity, and the mystery of how we have been brought back into the fold. Now, I bring this up because society, there's a lot of false religion in society. And I think we can easily look at the statement here. It says here in Desire of Ages, page 286, every religion that wars against the sovereignty of God defrauds man of the glory which was his at creation and which is to be restored in him in Christ. Every false religion teaches its adherents to be careless of human needs, sufferings, and rights. The gospel places a high value upon humanity as the purchase of the blood of Christ. It teaches a tender regard for the wants and woes of man. What am I going at here? How does society view humankind right now? Let's look at Carl Sagan that I started with. We are just star stuff. We're just dust. Dust from the cosmos. Our only greatness is that we're somehow caught up in this miracle of evolution. Or, we evolved from the ape. Or maybe, human life in the womb, it really isn't that special. It's not really human at all. Maybe we can have physician-assisted suicide because life is just not that great. There's so many ways where society really takes the value of humanity and twists it. And what is this really? It's a religion. You look at everything, it's a religion. These people, they have no religion in their life, but they'll have one thing. They'll have one religion, and they'll be married to, let's say, evolutionism. Just married to it. That's how we treat it. You can even say, you can go so far as climate change. What is the real problem of climate change? Humans. There's too many humans. Maybe if we get rid of so many humans, then it would be a better place. So much of false religion is twisted into viewing God's creation as the problem. But God wants every human being on this earth to know that we are of limitless value, and only true religion establishes humankind in that fashion. What about this? I talked to you about the cost of Indian kidneys versus kidneys from an American, United States of America. Is there a difference in God's eyes? See, true religion was ahead of this before equal rights ever came to being in this country. True religion was years ahead, and it still is years ahead now. You know, you talk about Black Lives Matter, Martin Luther King, all these things. True religion was decades and centuries ahead of this from the very beginning. Ellen White says in Medical Missionary, page 210, souls who have cost the life of Christ, the life of God's only begotten Son, must be estimated in value by the immense ransom paid for them. Right? Makes sense. The currency, the blood of Christ. Here she says rich or poor, black or white, must be treated with respect to the value Christ has placed upon the human soul. It makes no difference. You can be Donald Trump or Biden. You can be Putin. You can be Hitler. You can be the beggar on the street. The value of all of us, it's all the same. Whether we look at them for their actions and their deeds positively or negatively, in God's eyes, their value is all the same. There is no Indian value versus American value. That doesn't exist. Because His price for each and every one of us was infinite. The wealth of earth dwindles in insignificance when compared with the worth of a single soul for whom our Lord and Master died. He who weigheth the mountains in scales and the hills in a balance regards a human soul of infinite value. Here, in Selected Messages 299, Ellen White says that after Adam and Eve brought death into the world by their disobedience, that was the value, it was a costly sacrifice that was provided for the human race. Now, what happened? A higher value than they have originally possessed was placed upon them. So what happened? We were marred. And then after this costly sacrifice, what happened to our value? Increased exponentially. Did I show you that chart of Bitcoin? Way more exponential increase than Bitcoin. Infinite increase since the fall, since the sacrifice was made. By giving Christ, His only begotten Son, as a ransom for the world, God gave what? Everything. All of heaven. And tying this into the 7 divine institutions, we learned about relationship just 2 Sabbaths ago. All of this, everything, just so God can have a divine relationship with us. So He can call us a son and daughter of God. Just like Christ is called the Son of God, He wants me to be called the Son of God and you to be called the son and daughter of God. We are made equal to the value of what was paid for us. So how much are you worth in Bitcoin? I looked up the X model Tesla. Not that I want to buy a Tesla. I can't afford one. But since Tesla put $1.5 billion in Bitcoin, and they're going to allow you to buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, you want to know how much this 2021 Tesla Model X model is going to be? No. 1.9 Bitcoin. That's it. 91,000 US dollars or 1.9 Bitcoin. As of last night, it's probably a little bit different today. Bitcoin goes like this. Up and down. But it's high. So you can buy this with only 1.9 Bitcoin. It's like pocket change. How much are we worth? Here's a human being. Here's a human soul. How much are we worth in Bitcoin? Especially this particular human being. Does he have the nice smooth lines of the Tesla? Can he go 0 to 60 in, I don't know, less than 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds? What value does God place on this? Well, I'm not much of a mathematician, but I did a little bit of math here. The equation is U times the cost of the cross, or the value, the currency of the cross, and that equals infinite Bitcoin. Not 1.9, not 5, not the 10 Bitcoin pizza of the past, which is worth that times $45,000. You're worth infinite. There's a beautiful quote by Charles Spurgeon here, and it says, from the view of Christ talking to us, it says, "There, poor sinner, take my garment, put it on, you shall stand before God as if you were Christ, and I will stand before God as if I had been the sinner. I will suffer this in the sinner's stead, and you shall be rewarded for the works that you did not do, but which I did for you." So, brothers and sisters, very simple concept. All it takes is John 3:16. But I hope that this sermon allowed us to look into the societal view of humanity, the societal view of money. You know, we think money is such a great thing, but really it's $100 bills are just 10 cents a piece. There is much more in this world, much more value than just what we can put our hands on, than the depreciating car, much more value in a single soul that we find begging on the street, or even a rich Elon Musk, than we could ever even imagine. And God gave all for us so that he could have a relationship for us. So my wish and prayer is when we go through those times where we think, you know what, maybe I'm not worth that much, maybe I've been marred beyond repair and belief, we can know that the cost for us was infinite. Maybe we meditate on these words this Sabbath. Amen.